Meeting for Wednesday, January 18th, 2023. Everyone, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2 is roll call.
Roll call. Mr. Frederick?
Here.
Mr. Glufelty?
Here.
Mr. McAnally?
Here.
Mr. Long?
Here.
Ms. Roscoe?
Here.
Ms. Jamison?
Here.
Mr. Crover?
Here.
Bubwade is here. Ms. Freitag?
Here. Item 3 is approval of the agenda.
So moved as amended?
Yes, as amended.
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. McAnally, supported by Mr. Frederick, to excuse me, approve the agenda as amended. Discussion. Mr. McAnally?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Krova?
Abstain?
Mr. Bobade?
Yes.
Mr. Gladfeldy?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Ms. Jamison?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Abstain.
Chair votes yes. Agenda is approved. Item item 4 is approval of the minutes from the regular Planning Commission meeting held on December 19th, 2022.
So moved, Madam Chair?
Support?
Excuse me. I have a motion from Mr. Gladfeldy, supported by Mr. Bobade, to approve the minutes as presented. Is any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Gladfeldy?
Yes.
Mr. Bobade?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. McAnally?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Abstain.
Mr. Jamison? Mrs. Jamison, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Krova?
Abstain?
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Minutes are approved. Item 5, comments from the public on non-agenda items. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on anything that's not on our agenda tonight? Seeing no one, we will skip right along. And we go to item 6, which is public hearings. And first we have TA 2022002, zoning ordinance text amendment for Article 7 Business District and Article 8 Industrial Districts to include overlay standards for the Southern Gateway. Let the record, let's see, okay. Mr.
You want to do an introduction?
Who's doing the,
He's doing the talking.
It is me.
sorry.
Good evening. I'm Brad Strader, planning consultant from MKSK here. Have been working with the Planning Commission on this for a while, so we'll just do a public hearing on the overlay district. Move this forward.
Here we go.
All right, so this is a corridor overlay zoning district. So what is an overlay district? Within the city, they've divided the city into districts. So different types of residential, commercial, industrial, offices, and so forth. And an overlay are additional standards that apply just to a specific area. So in Romulus, they have an overlay or downtown district for the downtown area. There's a Vining Road overlay that has additional standards. And based in part on the Vining Road overlay, the Planning Commission and City Council looked at this southern gateway and said, maybe we need an overlay for this area too. So the public hearing tonight is on the overlay district for the southern gateway. So the southern gateway is illustrated on the photo here, is south of Eureka all the way to the southern city limit lines. It's both sides of 275 and Warman Road. So it would cover this area, whether the zoning underneath is commercial or industrial. If there was another use, these would be additional standards that would apply to this area. So this is all based on the city's overall master plan. So every 5 to 7 years, the city updates its master plan, and they look at zoning, infrastructure, transportation, housing, goals, and so forth. And so one of the goals out of the master plan was looking at this southern gateway area, which had, at that time, has very little development, and said, if this is an area where we're going to have additional industrial, warehousing, commercial, other uses, let's have a more coordinated fashion in terms of access and design and so forth than some of the older industrial areas in Romulus that didn't have those type of standards. So the master plan provides the basis for the overlay district. These are some of the typical uses that are out there. Some are in Eureka Road, like the gas stations. Some of these are relatively new, like the Kroger Distribution Center, and others, some of the commercial buildings or industrial buildings along Warman Road in particular have been there for a while and have been, I think, a good contributor to the city's tax base. One of the reasons the city had, again, looked at this is Huron Township to the south of us is also going through some of the same issues in terms of industrial uses and design and so forth. And so Huron Township and Romulus wanted to have somewhat consistent standards so there's a high quality of development on either side of Pennsylvania. So this is what the overlay would be. This would be the map out of the zoning ordinance that it follows the first map that we came up with. And it would include additional architectural standards for buildings, not just from the city streets, but also views from I-275, because one of the issues in the master plan is we really want to have attractive front door appearances along I-275. We don't always have that along 275 and 94 in the city and the adjacent cities, so this is a real opportunity to have good quality architecture or landscaping and nice views along 275. Maybe even allowing some additional signs. So if you've got a frontage sign, you're also allowed an additional sign along 275 to really kind of show off the appearance of the newer buildings that come up. Another issue that's come up, and this is based in part on the Vining Road, is a lot of the uses that are coming in to Romulus and Huron and other places in Metro Detroit generate a lot of trucks. And in the past, there were traffic impact studies, but they didn't distinguish truck traffic. So the idea here is that there would be an additional analysis for truck traffic over a certain threshold, and if that threshold of trucks is met, then the use becomes a special land use. So it's not just a permitted use, but it goes through a special land use where the Planning Commission can really look at the particulars of the site and the site plan and require some additional consideration in terms of design or how the trucks are routed or how the trucks are monitored to ensure that the truck traffic goes to and from the use to the 275 interchange and doesn't interfere with some of the residential streets in the area. Not part of the overlay district, but it came up at the last Planning Commission meeting, is Wayne County is looking at a new bridge on Pennsylvania, something the city has been sort of debating for a couple of decades now. So we wouldn't have trucks or trains stopping traffic. And there's sort of pros and cons to that and what's the design going to be and so forth. So we're aware of that. That's not part of the overlay district because that's outside, but we wanted to make sure that if you've heard about that project or haven't, the city is also coordinating with Wayne County to protect the city's interest on that project as well. And the Planning Commission may talk about that a little bit more after the public hearing. So the truck impacts would be come up with how many vehicle trips are going to be for visitors or residents or employees, but also how many trucks and how the trucks are going to be routed. Are they going to be on Class A roads or roads that can handle the trucking characteristics. And then we could require improvements to the roads or intersections from either Wayne County, the city, or the developer. And the city has done that with other developers on similar projects in the Vining Road area. In addition to trucks and transportation, there'd be design considerations. So these would be architectural standards. The Planning Commission already requires some things in the master plan and zoning ordinance for higher quality architecture in certain districts. This would add a little bit more to that to make sure we have high quality facades visible from the public streets like Warman and other roads in the overlay district, but also views from I-275. And this would apply even to reconstruction or redevelopment in the future. So even the uses that are out there, it would apply to them as well. There are options in here, so if a business is going to be more set back from 275 and has additional landscaping to screen the views, they don't have to fully comply with the architectural standards. They would then meet the additional landscape standards, or there could be kind of a combination of landscaping and the facades, and that would be things that the Planning Commission would look at as part of the review process. There are people that work in these industrial uses that love to walk in their lunch hour or during breaks and so forth, and so the city in recent development has required sidewalks and pathways and would require the same thing here. So you've been out to see like the Kroger distribution facility and so forth. You've seen berms, landscaping, and sidewalks out there versus 15 years ago, the city did not require sidewalks in those areas. And then there are already pretty extensive landscaping requirements in the city, but they would be slightly increased in the overlay, but especially increased along I-275, treating kind of the I-275 as another front door. And then, again, as I mentioned, there could be provisions for additional signage for certain uses along 275 that would be approved by the city administration. So these are kind of two sets of standards. One is the streets outside of 275, and this would just be an example where some of the existing development doesn't have a lot of landscaping along the frontage, and so that would be required. So some of these, if they came in today, you would have additional landscaping along the frontage. And then the other requirement is dock doors could be in the side yards. They can't be facing 275 unless they're screened, and they can't be facing Warman Road. So there's particular attention paid to the location of dock doors because dock doors tend to generate a lot of traffic. There's outdoor storage of trailers and other materials, so that either needs to be in the side yard or needs to be screened. And then when we're looking at 275, these are some typical views along 275, and a lot of it is pretty attractive in terms of cattails and other things, but there could be some buildings in there too, and so there's provision to either preserve the existing views or enhance them or have higher quality architecture. And just on this slide here is just listing what some of the requirements are in the overlay zoning district. So these would be standards that apply in addition to the underlying zoning district. So that's just kind of an overview. It's a fairly simple overlay focusing on traffic, truck traffic, architecture, views from 275, and landscaping. And be happy to answer any questions on your behalf during the Planning Commission public hearing.
Okay, so at this point, I guess I'll open the public hearing. Let the record show we have on file an affidavit of first-class mail. If there's anyone here who wishes to speak on this matter, please raise your hand. When you're acknowledged, come to the podium, give us your name and address, and your comments. Is there anyone that wishes to come and speak? Pardon me?
Can you speak up? I can't hear what you're saying.
You can't hear us?
I couldn't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit better, I guess.
Well, what I said was, is there anyone that wishes to speak? Excuse me, with regard to this overlay district that we're talking about right now? No one?
Close it up.
We live out in California. They do. We live in a house on California Street. Oh, okay.
If there's no one wishing to speak, I'll go ahead and close this portion of the meeting. I will now open it up to the commissioners for questions or comments.
Madam
Yes,
Madam Chair.
Chair.
Go ahead, Mike.
Who will start with?
I
Mr.
guess.
Godfelty?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question, I guess, for Brad. Brad, it's kind of hard for me to understand to promote this area. We don't have the roads to support it. We have a problem on Pennsylvania Road right now. And until that road gets upgraded, which I don't know if we'll ever see that, what do we do about that? You can't promise somebody a land to build, and the roads aren't up to standards. They're Class B roads.
Yes, that was my question.
So this area has long been planned for the industrial uses, so we're not changing the uses that are already permitted. We're just saying, instead of the uses going in now, without like a detailed traffic impact study, they have to really focus on the routing of the trucks and ensuring that the roads are built to Class A standards or something else, because that hasn't been done in the past. So this would be an additional set of standards, but the uses are currently already allowed out there.
Well, as I was just saying, if a builder come along right now and wanted to build on the corner of Pennsylvania and Wayne Road, that's a Class B road. How does he get in and how does he get out? Not legally, he doesn't, on a Class B road.
Yes.
And we have issues there right now.
Right. Some of the uses are allowed on Class B roads, others in other parts of the city require a Class A road or an upgrade. And so the best I can say is that the truck impact study would help identify where the quality of the roads, and usually OHM then would look at the quality of roads and can look at the options of upgrading the quality of roads when we hit a certain threshold of trucks.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Long?
Yeah, Madam Chair, actually, Mike touched on the question that I had regarding the roads in that district, that overlay district. And also, when you speak on the overlay district, so there won't be any storage on the 275 side when we
Correct.
have new
That would be a
development
change,
over
right.
there.
There could be outdoor storage if it's screened and the planning commission approves it, but otherwise it has to be in the side yard, not visible from 275. So that would be a change over what's allowed now. So right now, it's kind of viewed as the back door, and people can have storage or trailer storage on the 275 site, so this would not allow it anymore. It'd have to be in the side yard, or the planning commission would have to approve the screening of the trucks. And so we have a provision in there that we required renderings or other things to see, not just, does it look like directly in front of 275, but if you're driving northbound or southbound on 275, what are you going to see? So which is what we've done also on Vining Road, where we had some flexibility to kind of move the berming and landscaping to block the views.
And also, when
And I
you...
should have mentioned that in my presentation. So
Thanks
thanks for asking.
Thank you. And also, when you speak on the storage areas, will there be, because there's going to be some storage if you have an industrial site. So how do you address that issue by having the storage not in the rear of the building, because that's a front. Now you have two fronts.
Right.
To say.
It's kind of like if you're a corner lot in a subdivision, right, where you have different regulations, so they could either be in the side yard, but they're still allowed in the rear yard or the 275 yard, but then they have to screen them.
Screen it, okay.
And that there's additional setbacks, which would also kind of buffer them because they're set farther back, and then they could be screened. So they're allowed on the 275 yard, but if they screen or where they locate them. So that's kind of one of the intents of the overlay district.
Now, and I take it when we, for an applicant that's trying to develop a partial, I guess we'd have to have a new application with all of this stated in it, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It does take a little bit of a learning curve, as we found on Vining, where we had some people came in before the overlay districts went into effect, and then it was enacted. So when applicants come in, then the staff would say, you also have to comply now with the overlay district. And I think we worked hard with input from the planning commission and staff to make these fairly straightforward and not too elaborate. So that's why we focused on landscaping, building design, and truck impacts and storage are kind of the 4 things that are different from what the zoning allows now.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Is it going to be that easy? If there are no other questions or comments from anybody on the commission, then,
Right now.
excuse me.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. McAnally.
I make the motion to recommend to City Council approval of TA 2022-002 zoning ordinance text amendment for Southern Gateway overlay.
Support.
I have a motion from Mr. McAnally, supported by Ms. Jamison, to recommend to City Council approval of TA 2022-002 zoning ordinance text amendment overlay for the Southern Gateway. Is there any discussion? Mr. McAnally,
Yes.
Ms. Jamison,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Krova,
Yes?
Mr. Frederick,
Yes.
Mr. Boboade,
Yes.
Mr. Gladfelter,
Yes.
Mr. Long.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, it is recommended to City Council.
Thank you. The timing on this is very good. You do have some development proposals coming in. I don't think you'll see anything in February, but possibly March. So,
Okay. Okay, next we have, this is also a public hearing, correct?
I'm sorry.
Okay. TA 2022-003 zoning ordinance text amendment for section 9.02, schedule of uses to add drive-through restaurants as a special land use to the airport district. And who's-
I can talk on this one. It's very brief. Basically, I explained it in the memo. You have development that's in over on Middle Belt Road that has several uses, one of them being a drive-through, and in the airport district, they are not allowed. In doing some background checking, that district always had a category just called, if you look at table 9.02, where it says restaurants and bars, that would be all it said, which, as you know, we have several different types of those kind of uses. In 2011, when the ordinance was updated, someone, Brad's going to be able to expand on this, there was discussion, some of you might remember it, because there was public hearings on all this when that amendment was being done. A bunch of amendments were being done at the time, that some of the specific restaurant uses got added in, and 2 of them did. Carryouts got added in, and restaurants, taverns, brew pubs, and microbreweries got added in. But drive-throughs specifically were left out. So it appears, Brad can tell you the,
I think my recollection is the economic development director at the time and the planning director had sort of disagreements on whether or not to allow drive-throughs and some of the other uses. It was sort of a compromise that the planning director and the economic development director agreed to move forward with some amendments, but they left off fast food restaurants at the time because the city wanted to concentrate the fast food restaurants in other parts of the city and not in this area, so. I think
because of
that's
the traffic on Middle Belt Road.
Mostly concerns with traffic and
Traffic.
the conflict with vehicles on the other side of the street. At that time, wasn't that long ago, there was a lot of movement for more gas stations and restaurants in other parts of the city, and we didn't want to overload the city with gas stations or fast food restaurants. That's why the fast food restaurants were excluded from the ordinance amendments back then.
Do you guys remember any of this? Those of you that were.
Kathy and Dan
Okay.
might remember all
Yeah.
those discussions we had.
I remember vaguely that there was discussion. I remember
Yeah.
the comments about the drive-throughs
Yeah, yeah,
and
Okay.
where we want to see gas stations
Right.
develop.
right.
I mean, if you look at it, Middle Belt Road gas stations, you probably won't find a citizen in Romulus using them because they're so jacked up for the car rentals. So it's strictly a business that's outside of our use, except for maybe some of the restaurants. So at this day and age, you can't really build a gas station facility like this without some form of restaurant drive-through.
And back in that era, it was just the beginnings of gas stations having fast food restaurants like Tim Hortons or McDonald's, but it wasn't sort of the norm, and when all this debate was going on, that wasn't really considered. And since that time, we've seen more of those fast food restaurants. Sometimes they're standalone, but often they're associated with other uses.
They're
on the
usually
site.
coupled with,
Yeah.
when you have a gas station, it's going to be coupled with something else now.
Right. That seems to be the norm now.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments?
I know we're not looking at a site plan for that, but it would be, you would gain access to this location off Middle Belt and not from inside the airport?
Right, this is there's
Yeah.
700 feet around the perimeter of the airport district that the city, you will review a site plan on, so.
I was just curious about that, because I don't know if it was like, oh, they could just walk over there and get a Tim Hortons, or they got to drive around.
No, it's way out on Middle Belt Road.
Right.
I just wanted to clear that up in my mind. I know it's not a site plan.
Yep.
Thank
And this
you.
is a standard in general, so it
Yes.
doesn't, it's not necessarily for this development. It could be for anywhere in that airport
Because
district
it's-
along Middle Belt.
It's a little out of the ordinary that something like this is on the actual airport fence side of Middle Belt, as opposed to the east side, which is where all the businesses usually are. It's kind of odd.
The airport authority's leasing property
I bet
to
they are.
a developer.
All right, thank you.
But I don't think that, there weren't a lot of people that wanted to develop that section because of what they could get, what they couldn't put on there at that time. So we may see more as we go along. Okay, any other questions or comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do have a question in regards to the land over there, actually, that is operated by the Wayne County Airport Authority. Now, any development that goes on over there, is that taxable for the city?
I'm not totally sure all the tax implications. Do you guys know?
We get a business license tax for
Yeah.
any business on the airport property. As far as property tax, we won't,
I-
because that's airport
But I'm
property.
thinking more from the fact that it's being leased. That it's being leased.
Yes.
to
Depends on who
a-
It's
who
a
the
lease
owner is on
property,
the
yeah.
property itself.
Yeah, the property is the airport authority.
They're the landlord.
If the landlord is Wayne County Airport Authority,
We get
then
nothing.
we're not
We
getting
don't
nothing.
get anything off of that. So the point of developing that in the city itself is not getting any revenue off of it. That's not a good deal for us.
Well, it never has been, that's for sure.
Well, now it's going to be, if any development should go on.
I wonder if they would receive personal property tax, but I know some of those laws have changed. That's not as big as it used to be.
I can find out on that. It's actually on my list. I got a question to talk to the assessor about it today, and too many phone calls, so, but I'll follow up on that for you.
Yeah, I had the same question of Carol earlier today, because that was one of the things when Cindy and Tim and I had, I think, 3 breakfast meetings at Bob Evans trying to come to with a compromise. That was one of the things that were back and forth, and I think the laws and other things have changed now too, so it's probably, if this moves forward, to get an answer for the
Yep.
city council.
Great,
Definitely.
Thank you.
thank you. A motion is in order.
All right, Madam Chairman,
Mr.
I
McAnally,
make the motion to recommend to City Council approval of TA 2002-003 zoning ordinance text amendment for the airport district.
okay,
I'll support that.
all righty. Mr. Gladfelder? Mr. McAnally, when you said it, you said 2002, you mean 2022?
022, I
Okay, just want to
apologize.
correct that, sure.
Correct that. -003.
Right, okay. Is there any discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
just one question. Were we supposed to open up that discussion to the floor at all?
well, that's
It's a
part of a
public
public
hearing.
hearing, isn't it?
Yep.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
I'll rescind my motion at this time.
Okay. Well, okay, since it's a public hearing, excuse me, let the record show we have on file an affidavit of first-class mail. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this matter? Please let us know and you give us your name and address. No? Okay, we'll close that portion again. Now, Mr. McAnally.
remake my motion to recommend to City Council approval of TA-2022-003, zoning ordinance text amendment for the airport district.
And I'll support it again.
I have a motion from Mr. McAnally, supported by Mr. Gladfelte, to recommend to City Council TA 2022-003, zoning ordinance text amendment for the airport district. Discussion? Mr. McAnally,
Yes.
Mr. Gladfelte,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
No.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Ms. Jemison,
Yes.
Mr. Bowaде,
Yes.
Mr. Krova,
Yes?
Mr. Frederick.
No.
Chair votes yes. It is approved to be recommended to City Council.
Just for clarification, Madam Chairman, just for clarification, if this had been voted down, we wouldn't have stopped them from building whatever, we just wouldn't have allowed them to have a drive-through restaurant, correct?
You know what, they're coming to you with a few special land uses, site plan. It would have come up, it would have showed up as a use that's not permitted, and they would have asked you to deal with it. We talked about all the different things, and this was by far the easiest. We wouldn't have rezoned it. We wouldn't have done a use variance. This was clearly the.
Still has to go to City Council either way, but,
Oh, right.
okay, I'm just curious as to, it still was going to be built.
Right, it's just a matter of whether or not it could have a drive-through.
Yeah, yeah.
Moving along, item 7, old business. Do we have any old business? Item 8 is new business, and we have the 2022 Planning Commission end-of-the-year report. So,
I'm happy to say that Kayla Hubbard put most of this together this year, so she kind of stepped up and took it. It looks very familiar, I know, to what you've seen in the past, but there's a lot of detail that gets thrown in there, and, you know, she's been great helping out with the charts. The big thing that you'll notice in terms of the little bit of dip from last year, boy, we were just going like gangbusters. We didn't have as many pre-occupancies. Coming out of COVID, we just found a lot of people moving around, a lot of people wanting to be here in a lot of our building spaces. People shifting from one space to a bigger space, new people coming in, and we're still seeing some of that, but not as aggressive as it was last year. So.
anybody have any questions or comments with regard to it? If not, we have to take action on it.
You require acknowledgement?
On the last page, on page 6,
Okay.
I probably should point out one other big thing that we did accomplish last year was redevelopment ready certification. I know a lot of you had gone to training and you're living by best practices with what you're doing, you know, here and a lot of our review processes and other things. So that was a pretty significant thing the city accomplished last year.
So basically, we have to acknowledge that we received the report and make a motion
Make a motion?
to accept the report and recommend that the report be submitted to the mayor and city council.
Right.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, I'll make a motion to receive the end-of-year report 2022 and to accept the report as written and recommend that the report be submitted to the mayor and city council.
Support.
I have a motion from Mr. McAnally, supported by Ms. Jamison, to acknowledge that the Planning Commission received this report at our January 18, 2020 meeting, and making a motion from Mr. McAnally, supported by Ms. Jamison, to accept the report as written and recommend that the report be submitted to the mayor and city council. Any discussion? Mr. McAnally?
Yes.
Ms. Jamison?
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Krova?
Yes.
Mr. Gladfeldy?
Yes.
Mr. Frederick?
Yes.
Mr. Bawade?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. We approved it and submit and present it. Okay. Moving right along, we have new business and PC cases involving advice or input from the Planning Commission. Under that, we have item A, project introduction. RZ 2021-001, special land use 2021-002, 2021-006, Wayne Road Gas Station. And is a commissioner here, is there a commissioner? Is there a petitioner here that's going to make a presentation to us on this?
There is. The petitioner is going to, if you guys can step to the podium.
Step to the podium, give us your name and address for the record, and then let us know what you want to do.
This is an introduction.
Right,
It's
this is an
kind of
introduction,
a
right.
step that you don't have necessarily per your zoning ordinance. And thank you for all of those that touch base with us today and that I had a chance to talk to about it. We've been, this plan, along with the rezoning, there's a small piece of residential property that needs to be rezoned to accommodate this. The gas station itself is a special land use, as you know, and then, of course, the site plan. This all came in concurrently, the three separate processes, about 2 years ago. And we've spent an extensive amount of time reviewing the plans with the applicants. Back prior to the mayor being mayor, you know, he was very involved in this and part of several meetings trying to get this to work. Of course, as we know, we love the redevelopment of our existing sites. We want our properties viable and, you know, good uses for the neighbors and everybody passing through. And the gas station was just, it just wasn't fitting. And so we worked with them. Both MKSK and OHM have been instrumental in helping and working with them. Sort of a revised plan got submitted towards the end of the year, and it included the truck fueling pumps, which kind of kick this, as you know, you guys know your ordinances very, very well. Once we get into diesel and truck fueling, we're kind of changing the use. And you know, that was one of the things that we were a little unsure of from the use standpoint, consistency with the master plan. The biggest issue was, you know, traffic and circulation. So we met with them on Friday, went over a lot of things, and they've come back. They're requesting some time with you to get some input on that. They've made some changes to the plan, and I think what they want to do is introduce themselves, introduce their plan to you, and just get a little bit of feedback on your thoughts on this. Brad and Jessica obviously are here to help. We have not done a complete site plan review on this, or special land use or rezoning. The plan has changed since the initial submittal, and there is a traffic study that I don't know that we're too far into, but Jessica will help you with that. So if do you guys need the clicker? Is that the recorder? Is that the recorder? Oh, did you turn it off?
No, it was off.
Is it back recording?
So this is basically a conceptual plan, not the final plan, so it does not necessarily mean this is what they're going to
No,
build.
there is no action to be taken on this tonight.
Exactly.
That's why it's under the cases involving advice or input from the planning commission.
We need name and addresses for the record.
Good evening. My name is Issam Ghazali. I'm a developer for gas stations. We did a project in different city, and actually we bought this property 2 years ago. We were trying with Mrs. Carroll to. This is an existing building that we're gonna utilize the same existing building to put a nice, the whole 6,900, to put a nice C-store. That's including liquors and beer and wine, and you know, it's a big convenience store. Plus, we thought we can, small takeaway restaurant in it. We thought we're gonna add 4 gasoline pump and 2 diesel pump for small truck, the less than 26 feet, box truck on a side. That's the whole idea of it, you know. It's the existing building, but we're gonna make a nice, decent store in it, and we have experience in this stuff. We did it before, but this top, we're gonna follow the requirement of the cities. And I have my engineer next to me. He can explain this step if it's.
So you're keeping the existing building that's there?
The building is staying the same, just remodeling the outside to look nice the way it's. But it was like a 5-story inside the building. It's gonna be a single store, nice and decent C-store, like with all the services for the C-store, with the liquor, with the beer and wine. And actually the SDD and SDM is already approved for this site.
And the parking area is a big mess. Do you plan on repaving the entire?
I'm sorry. Ghassan Khalaf, design engineer, 5644 Middlebelt, Garden City. The parking lots, we're gonna be resurfacing, and the part that will be removing the asphalt to put the pumps, yeah, it will be a brand new concrete.
Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I guess my comment is, I do not want to see semi-trailers, tractors getting fuel there.
Sure.
I know that the speedway that they did down on Merriman has designed their lot so there's no way you could have a turnaround space for a semi, and that's the kind of thing I don't want to see on this project. Because that corner is so congested, it'd be so difficult to get semis through there, it would just make a mess of everything.
The interstate semi-truck is called WB67, and this design for WB40. The WB40 is one step above box truck, so we are not going to have semi-trucks. And you're right, like we can design it in a way, and we can show it that semi-truck cannot make the turn inside with the radiuses that we have, the radiuses of the curves.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman, that's all I have.
Jessica, would they be able to bring a semi in there and turn it around?
So like he did allude to, a WB40 can navigate through the site right now. That's like similar to like a cola truck or a pop truck size. As you get larger, the larger trucks cannot make it through the site. But it would be contractor-sized trucks and a little bit larger delivery-sized trucks.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Ms. Jamison?
Yeah, so the problem we have, I'm not sure if you're familiar and if you've been in that area, it's a hot mess currently. Traffic gets backed up, and if you're caught on Wayne, you have to wait for 3 traffic signals to turn before you can actually make it through the light. I don't know what solution you can bring to that outside of widening the street, because I don't really see any additional traffic being anything but worse. So when the train gets backed up on that street, it goes all the way back to that corner, and that even makes it even worse. So you have people going to work, going to school, whatever have you. When the weather is bad, it's already a bad corner. I don't see how we can actually add more traffic to what's currently there without adding at least one more lane or widening all 4 of those streets that go through that intersection. I can't see me ever saying yes unless that's done with those streets. I don't know if you have a solution for that, and if that you have that in your budget to pay to widen those streets. I don't even know if that's possible since it's a county street, but it's terrible traffic there now.
Wayne County already have a project to work on that intersection. So, and then as part of the traffic study, the northbound at the intersection, we need to have a taper and deceleration lane. We want to talk with Wayne County to make that from E-course all the way north to our driveway, to make that 2-lane.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it's going to need to be beyond your driveway as well, because just your driveway is not going to solve our issue. We need it a little bit further, because if you're sitting at that light, you can be almost way back to Wayne Course, which is that diagonal street that comes where we used to have a fire station, and there's just a building there now, but traffic backs up, because I've sat there. I, like the plague, avoid that corner, because I don't have time to sit through 3 or 4 lights currently, especially when a train comes. So if it's going to widen, it needs to go past where your property will be sitting, because I don't see that, because widening it solves our current issue. You bring more traffic, brings us another issue, so we need to go even further to prevent that from happening.
To be honest with you, regardless what we do, it's going to be like that, and this needs to be handled by Wayne County. You need to have left turn phasing in that signal, and then that will solve the problem. And I think it's a good idea, since they are going to be working on a new project in that area. I think it's a good idea to talk with them about adding left turn phasing on that signal.
Not just left turn, we need to go a little bit further down to widen it. I'm serious, that traffic is not good. Either one of those streets, if you get stuck there, I hope you're not in a rush. So I couldn't foresee seeing anything until we actually see how far that is. I know there's a proposal to do that. And realistically, I wish that the people who are making those decisions lived here and had to go through those streets. Maybe we'd make these decisions a little bit sooner, and we would make them further thinking, because I don't think we're thinking far enough right now. So that's just my opinion.
Do you want Jessica to speak to that?
Yep.
Please, Jessica, please.
Thank you. So in regards to the intersection, there is a design package that Wayne County has put together. It does have an increased length in the left turn lanes. It has a bypass lane for right turns going northbound on Wayne Road. And the current status of the project is that they are trying to finalize right-of-way. It would be a hopeful project to be under construction at some point this summer. In addition to the improvements at the intersection, there are items in the traffic impact study that we have noted, such as an increased left turn storage, so that there's the ability to store store traffic on Wayne Road and access the Wayne Road driveway that they're proposing. And as they said, a deceleration lane would be required. And one aspect of their traffic impact study is that they did not model the new configuration that Wayne County is proposing. So that is something that we would also want to see how the Wayne County improvements would interact with the use that they're proposing on site. We have not had an opportunity to go through the entire traffic impact study. It was just received late last week. So those are items that we certainly are looking at, and I don't have a definitive time as to when Wayne County will release those construction plans, but it's hopeful that it's still this year.
Can I add this? The problem is not going north. That's one of the problems. Going south is my issue. That's huge. I avoid the Northway because I know that's already bad, but going south on Wayne, that's where you get backed up all the way back to Wayne Course. And,
Right.
and honestly, you could sit 3 or 4 lights. So if they're only looking at north, they're not looking far enough. We need that going both ways.
They're making improvements to all 4 legs, and the traffic signal will be upgraded so that there's a dedicated left turn cycle, and that will be the solution for the northbound is the dedicated left turn, the lengthening of the left turn, so you don't have the combined traffic of both the southbound through and the southbound left, using the same lane, basically. So Wayne County's improvement is vast compared to what it is currently today, but I do understand what you are saying, and they've taken into account, the county has taken into account the backups that have occurred there. I have sat through that light.
And that's the southbound, just.
The southbound,
but
yes.
The southbound leg, or the northern leg, will also have a left turn lane. And Jessica and Carol, we've all kind of worked with them. They came up with different site plans initially, so one thing that Jessica worked with the applicant is to get the driveway moved as far north as possible. We tried to look at the driveway on E-course, moving that also to the east. but there's not much room to move that, but we did eliminate the one driveway that's out there now and moved it as far north as we could, because we know all the traffic volumes that are out there now, even after the Wayne County improvement, there's still going to be backups on the southbound traffic turning onto the east leg. So that's why we tried to move the driveway as far north as possible.
Now, have they considered what happens when that train stops and backs up all that traffic going down E-course, and then you got people that are sitting on Wayne because they can't turn on E-course because it's backed up because of the train? And that's the other issue that you have. So you got that whole little circle area over there, and you got people trying to turn around on the grass and in the dirt and trying to figure out a way to get out of there because there's no place to go.
Does the train get picked up in the traffic study?
So I can't speak to the exact process that Wayne County has gone through, but things like train crossings can be modeled in their traffic study. So they, in conjunction with Spalding D. Decker, Wayne County has studied that intersection to a point where I would feel comfortable that they've taken into most of the scenarios that are going to happen there. But I can't say that we've reviewed or looked at their traffic model. But I understand what you're saying, and the individuals that I've worked with at the county are, I mean, they're aware of their network and some of the major crunch areas, which this is one of them.
So last thing, Madam Chair, petitioners, I apologize that you guys are actually caught in the middle of a mess that we already have, and it's not going to make your project any easier. So just my apologies on that.
Just one comment. Is this Wayne County project been delayed? Because I swear I remember them saying it was going to start last year on there.
It's had issues in regards to right-of-way, making sure that the acquisition of all of the right-of-way that's necessary. And the county cannot let the project or put it out to bid until all of the right-of-way is acquired.
So that was the delay. Okay, thank you.
Through the chair, so if you're going westbound on E-course,
Yes.
and you want to make a left to go northbound on Wayne, if there is heavy traffic and it's all backed up, there would be the temptation of people cutting through the gas station to come out on the other end. Is that something you've thought about or factored in?
If they want to do it, you cannot prevent them. The only thing that you can do is to, like, for police to monitor it, like they can do that. But other things like how you can monitor, how you can control it.
Okay, it's just a thought,
Yeah,
because
they
it will come
can.
up and could, affect your business there. My other question would be, where do you intend to put the underground storage for the fuel? Because I assume.
This is part of the site plan review that we're not doing yet.
We're not doing a site plan.
Okay. Oh,
review.
sorry.
Right.
However, I guess I would encourage, if you had a question, that maybe they
I
could
can
at least
show
make
it
sure
to you
that they
on
show it.
I can show it to you.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm asking is, again, with respect to the semi, I assume a semi would bring it in.
Yeah.
So how do you think that will come in and out?
This is the semi truck that's gonna come in, and it's coming this way, and this is the area where the tank comes, and going out that way.
So the semi-truck comes westbound on E-course? Am I reading that? Okay, then goes into the station,
Yes.
and then,
And this is the location of the tanks here. And they keep going from that right there.
If I may, Madam Chair. There are two auto turns sheets in here. One is showing how an emergency vehicle can circulate through, and then the second is showing the WB-40. I will point out to the applicant, though it says that it's using a WB-40, it's actually using the fire truck to show the delivery truck for the fuel. You're not going to have that much of a difference in the movements of the truck, but that should be substituted for the actual WB-40.
Okay.
so at that point, once the truck comes out, it can only go northbound
Yes.
Or would it be able to go southbound? Because again, if there's congestion coming southbound, if you're saying the flow comes through ECOS, cuts across the station, and it now coming out to Wayne Road, I'm showing here from a diagram that it could possibly go southbound, but that could add to the congestion of that intersection already.
How many times do you have a fuel? Like once a week?
Actually, it's kind of once a week, the delivery for the truck. Once or probably twice a week maximum.
I mean, you intend to sell a lot of gasoline at that, or diesel at that area, so if...
It's the load, the truck usually have 13,000 gallons. 13,000 gallons is enough at least for 4 or 5 days, you know.
So would you have a schedule for them to come in, maybe
Yeah,
like
of
in the
course.
evening?
They call, but usually they come at night.
Okay.
Usually, most of the delivery is at night. It's going to be a 24-hour operation, and we prefer the delivery at night so we can go monitor it. No more shortage in it or nothing in it.
Okay.
And
Makes sense.
99% they come at night.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do have one question. On your proposed development here, will you be doing diesel fuel on the 4 pumps in front of the store, and then the diesel pumps will be located to the north of the building?
No, the 4 pumps is just for gasoline.
That's just for gasoline?
Just the 2 pumps is for the diesel.
For the diesel, north of the building?
No, that's...
Yes. No.
In front of the building is just for gasoline. That's okay.
All right, thank you.
The one on the side is for the 2 pumps.
And it will be, I guess, posted on those fire lanes, no truck traffic and all of that, because if a fire truck can get through there.
Yes.
That would be part of the site plan that they would have to present to us. Right. Personally, myself, I don't want to see trucks and I don't want to see diesel. That's my personal opinion.
It's just for box truck, not for...
Pardon me?
Just for the
Box
small
trucks.
trucks, 23 feet.
No
Box.
diesel, no trucks.
Through the chair, I just noticed also, on the project description, addition of gas station with diesel pumps and drive-through restaurant. So you're going to have a drive-through there?
No, we don't have a drive-through.
No,
After
they
we
changed
talked.
Oh, you changed it. Okay.
It's still on your plan, so
Anyhow,
it is.
any other comments? Well, if no other comments, then I guess we can just close this out.
So the rest of you are okay with the diesel pumps for small trucks?
I'd like to make a comment. As Mrs. Chair Freitag said, the small trucks means nothing, because they're gonna come in there.
Yeah.
We've got problems all over the city. I can name several of them. Some, Ecorse and Middlebelt, across from the Tim Hortons, they literally hang right out on Ecorse Road, trying to get fuel. It's a tight lot, but they get in there. I'd rather not see the diesel pumps. The signage means nothing. She just suggested.
Right.
Madam Chair, I apologize. I guess I didn't make myself clear. I'm not even thinking about a gas station next. I just don't see the traffic. I just don't. So it doesn't matter if it's gas or diesel for me. Sorry, but it's a headache for me at that corner, personally, and business-wise.
Thank you. No other comments? All righty. Thank you for your presentation. We hope we gave you some insight, some plans to do. Moving right along, item 10 is reports on interest designation. Does anybody have anything to report on their designation?
Yes, Madam Chair, on the recreation, I do have just a small report from the director. We had a grant from last year that came in, and that grant is going to be used to develop Opportunity Park with some more exercise equipment going around that walking track over there. And also, there's been a development with the city to try to get into a contract to cut some more brush down in that area over there and make that a more recreational area for the residents. And that's all I have for my recreation right now.
Thank you.
I don't have
Mrs.
anything
Roscoe,
tonight.
nothing?
I do. Yep, at the airport broke ground on a FedEx facility that's at the southeast corner of the airport. It's supposed to combine several facilities in the area, and they're going to have their planes come right in there and be able to load them onto vehicles and transport them out. If you've seen the construction that's going on down there, that's what it is. It's a FedEx facility.
Middle Belt and Eureka?
It's they're Gate 27, Superior Road. It's coming in off of Middle Belt. Yep, Eureka, just north of Eureka, south of North Line.
That didn't come to us, right? Because it's on the county property.
They don't have to because it's airport.
It's in too far.
North of Eureka. North of Eureka.
But the building
south
department has
of-
it. The building department has it.
Okay.
Oh, they're building down there. I saw that, construction.
Yeah, yep, they put up the fence line, and they're doing the grading right now.
Right. Well, there's really nothing on the property right now down there where they're at. It's all pretty vacant.
I don't believe there was ever a building down there.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Years ago, I think it was farmland, and I think blacks used to farm it years ago, before that runway went in.
Mhm. Thank you. Anybody else? No, no, no? Moving right along, we have item 11, communications, and we have our project status report. If I can find mine. I was over by Vining and Wick last couple days, and they're moving right along with that one building. It's huge.
Yeah.
When does Royal Farms plan on breaking ground? Do you know that?
Currently, Royal Farms, their status is they do have an approved engineering plan, so they are at the point where they're just gathering the rest of their permits, and they need a pre-construction meeting. I do not have the exact date of when they want to do that, but what I've heard, I think in the next month or so.
Don't they have to come before us? Oh, no, we already.
They already did, yeah.
We
Yeah,
already
they were
approved it,
actually,
yes.
the North Point team was in today, meeting with the mayor, and Kevin and myself and Jim Maginka.
Looks like they kind of have it staked out.
They do. The pad is built, so that the pad is
the
there.
pad is
They're
there
working on some things with Royal Farms. Royal Farms is suggesting a few things here and there, and, you know, they're looking into things further. The building plans aren't totally complete. I think the big issue that Jim was having, that the floor plan wasn't detailed enough, so that to just issue a permit for that, you don't know where the doors are, could affect parking, you know, it's a little bit more complicated than, you know, initially it sounds, so they want to tighten that all up, so.
As I understand it, North Point are selling the pads itself, and then,
Royal Farms is this is them now, they're.
Yeah, they have a big sign out front that they have pads for sale.
Royal Farms does?
North
North
Point
Point.
does.
Oh, North
So they're
Point, of course.
leasing out the pads, so
Right,
then
right.
the
Yes.
building comes
Right.
in.
Right, yep, they're moving real quick on the other three buildings, as you see, and they're looking for occupancy this summer and into the fall. They're moving quick.
looks good. The landscaping looks good. I hope it holds up through the winter.
Yeah,
But if you come around to Smith, I guess that's Smith up there by, they've got one across the street, one over here.
Yep, Romulus Corporate Park, that farthest building, that's, we call that the Scanel Building, under construction, they're getting ready to go on. They got the trees cleared on A and B. You'll see the nice green belt buffer that's staying, they're getting going too, so.
I also see a big for sale sign in front of the grocery store downtown.
yeah, I see where the church fell through.
Yeah, I guess.
Madam Chair,
That was a surprise.
Madam Chair, I just want to make a quick comment. We ask a lot of these people to come in, we ask for signage to direct these trucks which way to go. Mucci Farms over there on Inkster Road between North Line and Eureka, we ask for all that truck traffic to go north to North Line to a
Correct.
city truck route. I travel that way quite often, I get a lot of phone calls. The signage is all gone. There was some inside down their property, and there was some on Inkster Road telling the trucks to turn left to go to North Line Road. Signage is gone. I don't know who's gonna look at that, who would enforce
I
that.
can mention it to Roberto.
But the signage is definitely gone,
Okay.
and the trucks are traveling whatever way they want to go.
Okay.
And then, once again, that's a Class B road.
Yep, let me mention that to DPW.
Thank you.
So just a couple quick questions. So with the old grocery store footprint downtown, the proposed use of what it was, but now the building's for sale, does the proposed use continue on, or does it
No,
fall away?
it never had a C of O, it never
But
got
they
to
had
a
a suggested
reoccupancy.
use is what they were trying to,
Right, they came in and we were working with them, they were doing city cert inspections. I don't know that they even fully had a complete reoccupancy application, so, no.
right, because there was a lot of people concerned about that due to the location of other businesses down there. Okay, next question is, on the side of I-275, off of Huron River Drive, they're clearing all the trees. What's going on there? Like the Huron River Drive over underpass of 275.
Don't know.
I've
Do
seen it
you
too.
happen to know who owns the
They are
property?
taking all the trees off of that whole bank, going around there towards the airport, on the north side. I don't know if it's
North side.
planned for the south side too.
It's that old Gardner's Field area. Well, the Gardner's Field area, I think I've seen that.
I seen it
But I don't
today.
know why, it's just basically they cleared the trees from the embankment
Which
going
you
up.
think you would want for erosion, but
It could be something to do with the gas line. There's a gas line that goes through there now. And that might be the right of way for that gas line, but I'm not sure.
is that same, this is a little discussion, but is that the same pipeline that would be at Hannon and 94? Like, you know how it comes through there?
Yeah, a few years ago when they went in there and put in that line,
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
No,
It seems very odd, and they're tracking a lot of mud on Huron River Drive. And I
I'm
don't know
gonna
what
make
kind
sure
of
Mr.
permissions they
Waginka comes to all these meetings, even though,
And they got a truck sitting there right now about this far off the line.
really.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the north side of Huron River Drive.
If you're going northbound Huron River Drive, and under the underpasses.
Underpass,
Right
yeah.
there,
I've
Okay.
seen a chipper there today.
I'll mention it to Jim.
yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of activity going on there, you can't miss it.
Yeah, okay.
Now, if I could throw my 2 cents too in on the Wayne County and Wayne Road. Wayne Road to Van Born is 5 lanes in Wayne. Come all the way to 94, it's 4 lanes. From Wick Road all the way to Van Born is 40 years behind time. Ecorse Road is 5 lanes at Inkster east, and at Hannon going west, it's 5 lanes. Again, the hamstrings is the word I like to use. I don't understand it, that's 40 years behind also. Just my 2 cents. That hamstrings this gentleman's project, potentially. And his, the lane that they showed, the 2 cars come together on the northbound lanes right in the middle of his approach. I know this is just a tentative, smoke in the air type thing to hammer some things out, but I don't like anything I've seen on that road.
That's some of the problem that we've been having. We're spending, this isn't the only, we have 6
When
gas
we sat here
stations.
and
with the
talked
county,
about
though,
a
it's not
bridge
with
going
them,
in
it's
on
with the
Pennsylvania Road where there's no traffic right now, there will be tons of traffic. Money would be better spent where it needs to be spent 40 years ago. I don't understand this bridge thing. And does the planning commission have any input on it? Is there we should have a representative in on these meetings, I believe.
Are you guys, council involved?
We don't have.
Because we're going to end up with a bridge that nobody in the city will know anything about. And we're the ones going to get asked.
They've been talking about that bridge for ever.
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's a way to get over the railroad tracks for EMS
For
and for
trucks.
fire.
And
then
trucks and
it's,
more trucks.
Well, I
It's
think
not-
it was approached for the fire departments and
Right.
police departments to
That's
get
the
across.
excuse they're
Safety
using.
thing.
Yeah. And then they put it on Pennsylvania, so it's a shared use for Huron Township and
Yes.
Romulus.
Right.
So that it's a guaranteed way to get across
Well,
if
that's
you have to
guaranteed
get
for
through.
us. It's going to be a game changer is what it's going to be. It's going to make anything that's stuck on this side of the train, anything, come to Pennsylvania to go over, to go back to the
Yeah.
freeways. That's what it's going to be.
Huron River Drive would possibly get busier.
Here in River Drive will be destroyed.
you know.
Oh, we see the trucks coming through already when Sibley and Pennsylvania that are blocked, they come right down to,
The terminology is this is an end zone run, to that end of the town.
No.
We have no say-so in it.
I'm not
I don't
gonna oversee it in my
really
time.
particularly care for that.
I mean, well, we should.
It'd be almost better to put a little fire station at Pennsylvania and River Drive for that side of tracks, and forget the bridge.
A lot of truck driving.
Multiple, shared use community here on Romulus Drive. I don't know. It just seems like we have no say-so in it. We're gonna just find out what it's gonna be.
So
I
let me,
just don't
let me
like
talk
that.
to the mayor's office about having some kind of presentation to the planning commission on this and updates on this
We
kind
should
of
be
stuff.
exactly up to speed on all of that.
Yeah. Let me.
I would love it if we had a representative from Wayne County Roads come out and tell us about their future plans. You know, what roads are they gonna fix? They gotta fix somewhere.
Yeah, we hear about everything secondhand, right, after it's already happened.
Yeah.
It's our
Okay.
account.
I'll get economic development on it. We do have a new building director, so he starts on Monday, so that's going to help. His name is Jeff Kemp from Flat Rock.
is this Bob's old job?
Yes, not the Director of Public Services.
Right, just
the
bu-
building
building, right.
director. And as I like to add, zoning administrator. They added that to the title. So I think he's the building director, so
What will his responsibilities be exactly?
I'm not sure.
Okay, not to be determined.
Well, I'm sure they are determined, I just don't, definitely the building department.
Okay,
So-
building department, okay.
It just seems like there's an awful lot of people that don't even live around here telling us what we're gonna do. And how we're gonna do it, and what we're.
And how
no
much we have
say-so.
to pay.
It just drives me nuts.
That's it.
That's my 2 cents.
You can always
That was
use the
what I-
power of your vote. Say no.
Any other questions or comments?
I do have a question for Carol. Infinity, when do they go before city council?
You know, Reno checked in maybe around the holidays and kind of asked the same thing. I said, Reno, you got some stuff to submit? So we haven't gotten documents back yet, all those plans and stuff.
Oh,
So,
is he over there doing anything?
He can't. I mean, we've settled our issues with him, so
Oh, I know.
he's playing nice with us finally, but his final plans, I'm not 100% sure about, so. But at least we're all in agreement with our PDA, so.
Any other questions or comments from anybody? If not, we've come to that portion of the meeting for adjournment.
So moved.
Madam Chair.
Support.
Who supported that? I thought so, okay. I have a motion from Mr. McAnally, supported by Ms. Jamison, to adjourn the meeting. Mr. McAnally,
Yes.
Ms. Jamison,
Yes.
Ms. Roscoe,
Yes.
Mr. Krova,
Yes?
Frederick,
Yes.
Boboade,
Yes.
Gladfelty,
Yes.
Long.
Yes.
Chair votes yes, this meeting stands adjourned.